Hello and welcome to Health Matters on Channels Television. Thanks for joining us. I am Mary Alale Yusuf. The global figure for COVID-19 as at October the 9th was over 36.8 million. There were more than 25.6 million recoveries and over 1 million deaths. Cases in the US, India, Brazil, and Russia are collectively almost 21 million and about 57% of the global burden. In Nigeria, 59,992 infections were recorded, out of which 51,614 have recovered and 1,113 have died. The overall recovery rate is up to about 86%. Mortality rate is still about 1.9%. So far, 548,514 samples have been tested. That's just over 27,700 samples since the previous week. The outlook of the infection seems to be improving in the country, but the World Health Organization just a few days ago recorded a global single-day all-time high of almost 339,000 cases within the week. Let's look at how to prevent the situation from getting out of hand, especially here. My guest is a consultant public health physician from the University of Lagos and a member of the Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, Dr. Chidimma Ohazurike. You are welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Nigeria is looking good, but experts are saying, don't be so happy yet, don't rejoice yet, because we're not doing enough testing. But I must say, at over 27,000 samples in the past week, that's better than a lot of the weeks we've done. It has improved, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think we should really give kudos to the NCDC. What has happened is at the beginning of the pandemic, we just had like 2 to 4 laboratories in their network. And since then, they've moved on to up to 60 laboratories. That's right. On their network. So that means the country has really built up laboratory capacity to test for COVID, So, yes, it's showing in the number of samples that we can handle per time. And that is what we're looking to improve, for testing as far as COVID is concerned. So for laboratory testing, I think we've ramped up capacity, both equipment-wise and manpower-wise to deal with the situation.
The last time I heard, we were told the capacity was up to 15,000 samples a day. I'm sure it has increased, but at 15,000 samples a day, it will take more than the rest of this year to go through 2 million samples. So, it's looking like a losing game.
I think we should understand that Nigeria has a strict criteria for testing. And so if we're not having so many symptomatic cases, we're not likely to get that many samples to get tested because of the way we have couched our testing criteria. So Nigeria has a very strict testing criteria. You're either symptomatic or you're a contact of someone who has tested positive to the disease. So that is really limiting the number of people who can get tested on the NCDC laboratory network. However, people who want to travel, corporate organizations who want to do their own testing for their staff, maybe for return to work, have other avenues for them to conduct that testing. So except we maybe relax our testing criteria, our numbers, and then our numbers for testing or samples collected for testing may not go up. Again, if our surveillance system is strong and we keep watching, monitoring the situation, the increase in testing samples would reflect what is happening in communities. So right now, our community transmission rate is about 9 to 10%. So if it goes higher than that, that would require us to have more samples collected for testing. So we are watching how the virus is unfolding. It seems it's unfolding differently in Africa,
yes,
compared to other continents of the world. But we are watching what is happening, and hopefully, I think we're getting it right by the day.
Okay, so we are coming on a national testing week very soon, and the PTF says there will be testing in every single local government area all around the country. What's this going to look like?
Okay, so as I mentioned, what I said, we had a very strict testing criteria. While we have been able to test as much as we can, it has not given us a true picture of what the burden of disease is. Remember, COVID has, what will I say? The disease manifests in a spectrum, so to speak. So you could have asymptomatic people, so people who have been exposed to the virus, but they're not showing any symptoms. You could have pre-symptomatic people, and then you can have, frankly, symptomatic people. So while we've not seen the surge in numbers, as we would expect, one would wonder why, just as I mentioned that it seems the picture is a bit different in Africa. But as research has to drive your decision making, evidence has to drive your decision making. So I think what the government is trying to do is to find the evidence, explain what is actually happening. We have to give a scientific explanation to what is happening in Nigeria, and I think that is what is driving the arrangement, so to speak, for a national testing week. So we want to have an idea of what the burden of disease is. So if you do those testing and you find out that it's probable because of our young population, maybe most people have been exposed, but they've not come down with symptomatic cases. That could explain what is happening. But I want to believe that decision is being taken because we need to have a clear picture, of what is happening, and that will drive our evidence, even up to, who receives the vaccine when the vaccine comes.
When you speak of burden of disease, does it include maybe those who had the disease and have come out of it? They're now okay. Is that part of what we're calling a burden now?
So for COVID, that would include those who have recovered, because these people will have antibodies, okay. So even when you do those tests in the communities, they're going to check for antibodies for exposure to the virus. Those people who have also had the disease would also have those antibodies to the virus, so they will add up. But when you look at the numbers, when you want to test people in local governments, I don't know how they're going to go about the numbers of people or how many samples they plan, but I want to think for a population of 200 million, if you really want to do a population-based prevalence study, you're going to be aiming for at least 10% of your population, and that should be like 2 million. I don't know if they have worked out that, but for countries that have done that, Switzerland, the aim was to at least test 10% of your population to get.
Okay, let's say 10% of the population gets tested, and they find out that maybe 70% of those people have been exposed to COVID-19. What does that mean?
We would have to interpret it in very cautious terms, but just looking at the numbers, it would look like we are approaching herd immunity, so to speak. Because for you to say that, remember that COVID is a new pathogen, is a new virus. It hasn't been here before, so that means it has so many people to spread around. Mm-hmm. Before March, none of the 200 million people in Nigeria have ever been exposed to COVID. Or before the 27th of February, so to speak, when it was confirmed in Nigeria. So that means that COVID actually has over 7 billion people around the world to go over, and it has 200 million people in Nigeria.
Different strains
in Nigeria to go over. So what if that happens? If that picture emerges, it just tells us that it's probable that we have been exposed to this virus, but we're not seeing the number of symptomatic cases that we're seeing. We're expecting to see, because because we already have so many people who have been exposed, who have acquired antibodies to the virus. Again, it will help us to know whether we're going to expect a second wave. So when you have people who are already immune to the virus, so what is happening, it will also help decision makers to find out, okay, what is the future? More like a predictive epidemiology.
Okay.
What would the future of this virus look like in this particular population?
Okay. Now, talking about a second wave, which you mentioned, we're seeing Europe, for example, 100,000 cases in 24 hours. And then the World Health Organization spoke about, 339, almost 339,000 cases, all-time high, just a few days ago. One would have thought that it would be coming down and not going up. Remember, this virus has been with us since December last year. This is now October. It's almost a year. What are we looking at? What's going on? Some of these countries were countries we thought they've got a handle on this thing. It's going to go down from now on. They're driving it down. And then suddenly a surge. What's going on?
I think there are ways to explain that, because when you look, as I said, the global population is over 7 billion. I don't think the global number of cases is up to 50 million. I think it's about 40 million. Or thereabouts, so to speak. So, as a new virus, it has how many more billions of people, to infect? So, the population is still there. But for Europe, remember that this is a population whose median age is close to 80,
Okay.
When you look at all the countries in Europe, And that was what happened in the first wave, So, the virus came and it was very ferocious in long-term nursing facilities where you have very old people who would also have comorbid conditions that will make exposure to this kind of virus even have a worse outcome for those kind of people. In Africa, the median age for most countries in Africa is about 20. So we have a younger population compared to...
Our median age is 20?
Yes, we have a very young population, So that it gives you an idea that age can be a factor to what is happening. Again, we need research. We need to really document that evidence that this is what is happening. We can only, extrapolate from what is happening. Now, even in Europe, what is driving the second wave is the young population.
Okay.
That is what is driving the second wave. So, young people who have not particularly adhered to the non-pharmaceutical interventions.
And this going to school doesn't help. I mean, everybody's going out now, going to school, clubs are opening and all that. So that's probably part of why this young population,
Yeah, so in Europe, they're driving that. We are just opening. I think Nigeria just started opening about the 5th of September. Schools just started opening. Some schools are still, even with schools that are doing a phased reopening. For international travel, Nigeria has a very strict testing criteria, both for when you're leaving and when you're coming back. So we are carefully watching what is happening, just to make sure that we can manage the situation here, So we know what it is here. We have a fair idea of what is happening in country. But at the same time, as we open our borders, we have to watch that we don't get overwhelmed by what is coming from outside. And remember that Nigeria has both trade relations. Most of our trade and travel is in these countries where that are currently experiencing the second
high
wave.
numbers, yes. Now, we've been hearing about people who are bringing fake PCR results, and expired PCR results. First of all, can you explain the rationale behind this 72-hour, how do I put it? Cutoff for the COVID negative certificate. Why 72 hours? Just explain. Maybe people don't understand.
That the how will I put it? The infectiousness of the virus and the viral load, it begins to peak between the 3rd and the 5th day.
Okay.
Do you understand?
That's after contact.
After contact.
3rd to 5th day is when it starts to go up.
It starts to go up. So again, I think we should understand different countries have different protocols for testing. Have different cutoffs for, some of these PCR machines can peak as little as 20 copies of the virus, 100 copies of the virus, 200 copies of the virus. Now, if you're coming from a country or from a PCR lab that is having their cutoff as 1,000 copies of the virus.
That is too much.
And is giving you a negative test, and you're coming back to another country where the PCR machines have been set, to peak as low as 100 or 200 copies of the virus. You may be negative in one place, and then you're positive in another place. But what we know about COVID is that as as the time lag increases, the infectivity of that person also decreases. So we're looking at 3 to 5 days as if this person is infectious. One, the PCR should be able to pick, this virus, and
within those days.
Within those days.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue on this. Please stay with us. We're coming back shortly. Welcome back. We're talking about COVID-19 and avoiding a second wave. Many countries have moved into a second wave. We can't afford that in Nigeria. The number to call if you have any questions is 0808 054 2233. It's showing on your screen now. And you can tweet at CTV_Mary A for your comments and your questions. We were talking about the 3-day, 72-hour lag for a COVID negative test. Now, the PTF also spoke about rapid tests, not being the standard. Some people are bringing tests, but they were done with rapid test kits. Why is this a problem? And is the rapid test kit good for anything?
I think we should understand what the testing protocol is per country. Nigeria has taken a strong stance that what it wants for the definitive diagnosis of COVID is a PCR test. So anyone coming with a rapid test is not meeting the country's testing criteria for diagnosis. So the person is already running foul of that policy guideline, But what is wrong with rapid test kits is the rate of sensitivity and the rate of specificity. So what is sensitivity? Saying that this person who is positive is truly positive. And specificity saying that this person who is truly negative is truly negative. So rapid test kits don't have a higher sensitivity or specificity compared to the PCR. Their sensitivities and specificities of most of them are in the 80s, 80, 84, 85%. What does that mean? That you have a whooping 15 to 20% of people who may have this virus who you miss.
Okay.
Which can be too much for a health system. Yes, it's significant for a health system that like Nigeria to cope with. So we can't afford, you test 100 people, 80 people are positive, you miss another 15 to 20 people who may be positive, but the test is not that strong enough to get them. That can be a huge problem for any health system.
Anyway, the airlines will be penalized if they entertain such people, right?
Yeah, that's what the
that's a
guidelines
way to stop the numbers from surging.
Yeah, so again, shared responsibility. So the passenger has his or her own responsibility. The airlines have their own responsibility. Port Health at the airport have their own responsibility. NCDC have their. So it's all a chain that is supposed to work together to protect all of us. And I want to employ everyone in this chain to do their bit to protect all of us.
Let's take Ayo. Hello, Ayo.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ayo. What's your question?
Okay, my name is Tayo, actually, not Ayo. I just want to ask the doctor, she was trying to talk about herd immunity and why the cases are dropping in Nigeria. My thinking is, even though the figures, we don't trust that much, I'm thinking, is it not possible that this disease or virus is not quite as deadly as it is portrayed? Maybe we're actually giving too much attention and sacrificing too much for this virus. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to put that to you. Are we overemphasizing this virus?
I do not think we are, because again, this is a new virus. Nobody knew how it's going to, or nobody even knows what is going to happen in December. Nobody knows what is going to happen next year. So everybody is trying to be cautious, You need to study this thing. So it requires some kind of patience, both on the part of the populace, on the part of the decision makers, on the part of researchers. So we are just trying to understand what is happening and trying to watch how it unfolds in each population. Again, we can see that how it unfolds in each population is different. Would we have known that it wouldn't, the pictures we're seeing in other countries would not have unfolded in Nigeria when we asked for a lockdown? Nobody knew.
Nobody knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, so you could just
and really, for a virus to travel in the space of a few months round the whole world,
it's a very
some respect.
Yes. Yes, it's a highly infectious virus, very highly infectious. So I think that decisions are being made by the day. Everyone is learning, both scientists, researchers, responders, decision makers are having to learn, and really work out what is best for the context of your countries.
We were talking about shared responsibilities, and I was just looking at the Ondo elections that are taking place. Some places, the people are so packed closely together on the line. What is it with Nigerians? Why can't they give each other space?
So you're taking us again to the realm of social epidemiology, and behavior change is a hard thing to sell. So we are. Nigeria before now, we don't even respect cues.
Exactly.
So COVID now taught us you have to just maintain that minimum distance between one person and another. But at the same time, it's a hard sell, especially for people who feel, I want to do this thing, we're always in a rush. I want to do this thing quickly, or I can quickly get in front of someone else and then do something. So we would continue to keep the messaging, just continue to pump out those messaging that this is what will keep everyone safe. And hopefully, behavior change, though slow to come, we are hopeful that it will stick.
And finally, some people have complained that they went for a test. I have heard these complaints personally, a few of them anyway. And it turned out positive. And that was it. You're positive. Bye. No advice, no follow-up, nothing.
I'll be
confused set of people.
No, I'll be surprised, really surprised at that, because I've had a few people who are close to me who've tested positive, and I know the process that they had to go through. They got calls, from the disease surveillance and notification officers of the local governments that they were residing in, and they got follow up. So I won't know how long or how recent that would have happened. But
okay, let's quickly take this call before we continue. Hello, Laifa. Are you there?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your question?
First of all, let me commend the doctor there. She's doing a wonderful job. So much education this afternoon. Yeah, my question for her is, does she think we're doing enough testing? Because with what I saw at Edo, the compartment of people during the campaign, and their results are coming out very low compared to Rivers State, where no political activity took place and people... I'm a bit worried. So,
great point.
Are we actually testing? Thank you.
So he's saying they're clustered in Edo State during the election, and they're having less cases. What's this about, really?
Again, those are things that we need to study, because I think I was in a meeting during the week, and they were talking about Malawi, the elections in Malawi, and how there was a peak, after the elections in Malawi because of the movement of people around the elections. And I remember telling my colleagues that hasn't happened. We were all waiting for Igdo. We watched closely as public health physicians.
We were waiting.
Yes, to see what would unfold, but it didn't.
Nothing.
So our reporting systems, while we've tried to tighten up our reporting systems, to make surveillance stronger, for now, we cannot say we have a clear picture of what happened.
Okay, so
what is happening
those are some
in
of the things to watch. I actually have to stop you now.
Okay, really?
Or we'll just keep going. Thank you so much for coming to the show. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Dio. Thank you, Laifa, and all those who are still trying to call. Enjoy your day, and please stay safe. I am Mary Alale Yusuf.